And yeah, I think now we can talk spoilers. So I'll be turning this banner on, and right now on the screen you can see the spoiler alert banner. So as long as this is up, we'll be talking spoilers. So if you haven't seen the movie yet, you can turn off the stream or the video whenever you're watching right now, and continue it later. So yeah, first things first. I want to talk about Icarus's arc first. So yeah, in this movie, there's one similarity with Zack's Superman in Justice League, which is the Heroes Park scene. So there's a scene in this movie when Icarus basically turns on the group of people because of his beliefs and stuff, which I'll get to in a minute. But yeah, there Chloe Zhao has said that Icarus, Zack's Man of Steel has been an inspiration for Icarus, and the look of that movie is similar to what they were going for. With There's another movie called The Tree of Life, and or is it just Tree of Life, by Terrence Malick, and it's an amazing movie. I think everyone has to watch that movie because it's such a life changing movie. Like it will change you. It's that type of movie. And yeah, that movie is pretty beautiful and amazing, and I definitely got that vibe from this movie as well. She totally nailed that, and I think she did a wonderful job. But yeah, coming back to the Icarus character, um, I liked how his character was shown as the person who would have faith and loyalty to his maker, which is Arishem. So Arishem is basically the god in this world, right? And he basically created these Eternals to fight deviants, which were also created by Arishem. But it was basically a mistake because they evolved on Earth, and so to rectify that, Arishem had to create Eternals, and Eternals had to stay on Earth. So there's another story point to that, which we'll talk about later. But firstly, Icarus started off as this faithful and loyal person to the to Arsham, right? And we see his arc go through the movie. He's very protective of Cersei. He's in love with Cersei. He's protective of his team. He protects them from the deviants. He's basically the leader of he wants to be the leader of the team, but it's actually Ajak. She's basically the mother of the team and the leader. And something happens, and then he kills her, which basically was a very interesting plot twist for me because I thought that showed brilliantly um, how flawed these characters are. They are trying to be good. They're trying to do what's right, but not always being black or white. And I loved that about this movie. Every character has, the dual nature, the gray area of, of their characters. And it was very interesting to see because the MCU, Feige's formula for the MCU also includes elevating the heroes to the hero status, whether it's realistic, or whether the villain would do something like that or not. It doesn't matter. The most important thing to Feige was making your heroes stand above everything else and being right, right? But in this movie, they are not, and they have conflicting opinions about stuff, about real philosophical, life-changing stuff, and it's the biggest proponent of that is Icarus on one side, which is he believes that Arisham's grand design, which is his plan for all the universe, is actually worth following blindly. And that's what he basically is. And the team obviously disagrees with him, and even Ajak, who was the leader, disagreed with that. being on this planet and thinking that this planet is something special, being amongst humans that changed her. So he basically killed her, because she would be obviously leading these people to the wrong path, right? Um, and after that, to his shock, Gemma Chan's character became the leader, and she had to lead the team, and basically she was kind of leading them towards the betrayal of Arisham plan, which is basically not allowing the emergence of Tiamat, the eternal, the celestial that would destroy this planet. And this whole side of the team was supposed to stop the emergence and save the planet, basically, which is a fairly right thing to do, right? But no, in order to do that, um, they'll have to stop the birth of a celestial, and because of that, many planets like Earth would stop from being born. So basically, they are choosing Earth or other planets like Earth would have so many other beings as well. So it's basically a moral, conundrum whether to save this planet, whether to listen to Arisham's, design and all that stuff. And they were basically divided on that. And on one side it was Icarus, who blindly just wanted to listen to Arsham and believed in him so much that he was willing to sacrifice everyone, everything, and just to stay on that path. And because of that, he had to fight the team. So basically, the third act is him fighting the team and the team fighting fighting him. And they had this plan to create a Unimind, and then Unimind is basically all 10 of them, or how many ever is left. All of them have to um, mentally bond, and that will create a Unimind thing that will actually help them in stopping the emergence. And obviously,
Yeah.
they cannot do that when there are so many disagreements amongst themselves. So they had to physically fight, and then all of that happened, and then they came to an agreement in the end and created the Unimind. But even after that, obviously, Icarus just couldn't. Um, he agreed to help them in the end, but he didn't. He wasn't happy with the decision because obviously he still believes that they are in the wrong and they are doing the wrong thing, which you cannot argue against actually when you look at the grand scheme of things. So he basically just he was stopped by his love for Cersei. He was trying to kill
Yeah.
her, and he was stopped by his love for Cersei, and he couldn't do it. And because of that, he was left in the middle where he cannot even move forward with his plan, which is to help Arisham, or help the team because he didn't agree with them either. So he was so conflicted that he couldn't take it anymore and just decided to fly away from Earth and into the sun and die. I thought this I thought his character arc was the most amazing arc that I've seen in the MCU so far. And it's just very beautiful and not afraid to, take bold story decisions and stuff. It's his first movie and this happened to him. So, it was a very flawed character, very ridden with guilt and responsibility, had so much um he had to sacrifice so much because he couldn't be with his love, which is Cersei, because he couldn't tell her the secrets and what his plan is. So I think it was one of the best things to come out from this movie. It was very amazing to see, and I think what Chloe did here is kind of underrated, and it's other characters are awesome too, and we'll talk about that as well. But he was basically my favorite because of all this.
Yeah, and like as you explained, it's a very deeply a layered film.
I didn't even like cover
And
the
you didn't
full
even
movie. There's so much,
you
like I
didn't even,
said.
you didn't even jump into the complicated parts.
Yeah,
But yeah, that's basically it. And as I said, like meeting your maker, and that's what Harisham is. With all the Eternals, he created them for like basically as a code. You know, they were coded to do a job, and as they were in this environment, they learned things. They fell in love. They understood human beings, and they wanted to stay here and live there. They wanted to save the planet that they were born. Um, I would argue they're born on Earth more than they were born by Orisham because their personality, everything was created on Earth by the people of Earth. So yeah, and then the end fight with Icarus was fantastic, awesome to see. But like you just could see everyone's powers, and it was fantastic. Kind of like Zack Snyder's Justice League Heroes Park, or maybe a scene at the end with Steppenwolf, the Paradigm, and stuff like. Everybody has their moment to shine and their cool action sequence. That was awesome. But like, it's not like there's large periods of this movie that's just talking and talking and talking, but it's interesting, and you learn more about the characters and where they came from, and it's just very interesting. And if you're somebody who has liked Zack Snyder's movies, you're going to love this one because of how deep it actually goes. And it looks like that Zack Snyder was a producer on this, or he was involved with this film because it looks like his type of movie. And it looks like Chloe Zhao was inspired by Man of Steel, maybe even Watchmen, or Batman v Superman. Any of these movies that Zack has done with Superman, and just his overall his look and her look. And actually, to be fair to her, in Nomadland, which she won an Oscar for, a lot of that film looked like Eternals.
yeah,
Eternals looked like that film, a lot of it. So that's just her style. That's what she wants to do, and she shot a lot of this movie on location, which added to it magnificently. A lot of the Marvel movies are on green screen, blue screen, in a studio, and they never leave. Here they were out and they were making this as real as they possibly could. Of course, they can't every time because they go into space and there's massive cosmic fights and
yeah.
stuff like that. But
They
the little
cannot
things
actually go to
are
space and shoot.
yeah, not yet. But I appreciate them going the practical location route as best as they could because it adds to it a lot. Like Ajax, Salma Hayek's character, he lives in the middle of nowhere, and you can see that they shot that in the middle of nowhere, and it adds to it. It really does. So yeah, I can't wait to watch it again. It's a fantastic film, and I hope Kevin Feige wants to do more of this tone going forward, and I hope like always now returns. I think there's rumors that she's going to be doing his Star Wars movie next. So that's intriguing. And we could probably guess that months ago because Kevin Feige is just obsessed with Chloe Zhao and her style.
Yeah,
So I think he's going to try and keep her around for a good long time. I don't think she's going to go to DC anytime soon. There's some talks, maybe reports that she would. I don't think she's going to go to DC at all. I don't think he will let what happened with James Gunn happen, where he goes over there. He'll tie Chloe Zhao down for a number of projects, Star Wars and future Eternal movies. At the end, like this movie didn't end on a happy note. Grisham came and he took Kingo, he took Fastos, and he took uh, Siri for
seriously.
what they or Cersei for what they did, and for going against his wishes and killing the Celestian of Earth, who was going to devour Earth. He took them off, and it ends like it ends bigger than Infinity War did because I'm literally scared for Earth right now. I'm scared for these characters because if Harisham comes back and he decides that Earth isn't good enough, the people of Earth aren't good enough, all he do is just swipe at the planet and everyone's dead.
Yep.
So
He can
I'm
literally just
there's
flick Earth
that's
right
it.
out of existence.
There's more stakes in this film than there is in any other MCU film. There's actual consequences for what the Eternals have done, and I'm scared, and I want to see what happens next. We all knew at the end of Infinity War that they would come back from the snap, and they would probably end up defeating Thanos in the next movie. Here, I don't know what's going to happen next, and I'm excited, but I'm also in fear for the characters. So it did not end on a good note whatsoever, and that's what I liked about it as well because it took itself seriously. It didn't say, "Oh, let's go into the sunset now and let's go to Eternals 2 or let's stop a different movie." It does that, sets up other movies, but no, this story didn't end well, even though they won. So yeah, I can't praise the movie enough. I do think it's the best MCU film. I don't think any other MCU films are in this film's league whatsoever. I think when I'm ranking the MCU now, I'm going to have to rank the saga,
Yeah,
Infinity War saga, and the Black Widow and Shang-Chi. And then over here will just be Eternals on its own.
yeah.
and the only person that can compete with Chloe Zhao is herself. So it's going to be Eternals 1 versus Eternals 2. That's all I can see going forward.
Yeah.
Unless, now to be honest, to be fair to Kevin Feige, Loki, WandaVision, The Falcon and Winter Soldier were not typical MCU projects either. There was a lot of experimenting going on. It had a lot of MCU humor, and probably by WandaVision maybe didn't land that well. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier was more of an MCU movie, the ending of that, and Loki was actually a pretty oh my god moment ending as well. So I think they're taking a little bit more risk with these movies going forward. Shang-Chi was fantastic, even though that's more of an MCU format. That was a great movie. That was
Yeah.
fantastic. Black Widow was more of a safe route, and I think that movie should have come out 10 years ago. But they're taking a lot more risk with their stories going forward, and I hope Kevin Feige continues to develop this because the fan base is going to come no matter what. I think because there's a trust that they're being built up. So I hope we get not going to get rid of the formula. We're still going to have MCU type movies, but throw in the Lokis, throw in the Eternal movie here and there, and just freshen it up a bit.
Yeah, man, I agree. Like this, I was basically thinking how to even rank the MCU movies and this movie amongst them. Like I cannot do that because when I'm ranking the MCU movies, I go by entertainment factor, I go by action, how much I loved it, how much rewatch factor it has, how many times I can watch it, um, and all of that stuff, right? So that's just not applicable here because this is a completely different type of movie. It's not an entertainment action movie. It's not a comedy movie. So it would be unfair to Infinity War um placing this movie above that because that movie wasn't trying to be this. And it would be unfair to Eternals to put Infinity War over this because Infinity War was a massive comic book, epic action movie, but Eternals wasn't trying to be that. So I don't know, man. It's like you said perfectly. There's just a different type of thing. It should be in its own league, and I just cannot put this within the MCU ranking at all. And
No,
yeah,
it makes the rest of the movies irrelevant because the
yeah,
consequences in this one are just enormous. But I will say that this is Marvel's epic. I think this is their cream of the crop. This is their epic for the MCU. Zack Snyder's Justice League, I think, is the epic of DC.
hmm
Even though that was only a streaming movie, it should have been out in theaters. But I think Zack Snyder's Justice League is DC's epic. The New Gods, Darkseid, Steppenwolf, the multiverse, the multiple
history
timelines.
lesson.
That's the epic, the history lesson. This is Marvel's epic because it
Yeah,
delves into that as well. The equivalent of not the equivalent of Darkseid, but Harisham and the Celestials are kind of that's that galaxy god kind of element. You have the
yeah,
flashbacks through time, like the history lesson, but with the Eternals and the different like people compare Avengers versus Justice League. Like, who has had the better movies? It's kind of unfair because the Avengers is just like a group of heroes brought together to defend Earth, and some of them are humans, and there's Thor, of course, is a god. But all of the Justice League, you could argue, are gods, all of them, and all the Eternals are gods. So the
yeah,
Eternals, it's two stories about God, and I'd argue Batman's a god as well. He's the one who brings the team together. Um, so you get these two movies that are two epics: Marvel's epic, DC's epics, with gods taking on gods. It's it's fantastic. We
yeah,
live in a year where DC and Marvel both had epics come out. People might disagree with me, but I don't give a fuck. It's true.
yeah.
Two epics came out in the 1 year from DC and Marvel, and it's
It's
going to be very hard to touch.
crazy.
That will never happen again.
I never thought that Eternals would turn out like this because there was no indication of it. Well, yes, Chloe Zhao was going to direct it. We knew that, this movie would be good because she's a great director, but we didn't know that it would go this deep. And I just loved every second of it, man. Like like I said, I just wanted more.
Yeah,
That's what I wanted from the movie. But yeah,
it
I
actually
agree with you.
it actually took me a few minutes to get into the movie because it was so different. I
Yeah.
couldn't see
The way
the
the
MCU
movie
movies.
starts even with a text,
Yeah,
with a
just
scrolling
just
text.
scrolling text, and like it just felt like Dune. It felt like I was watching Blade Runner or something because
Or
this
Star
opening text
Wars.
comes up. Star Wars. It just felt like one of those movies, and like it took me a few minutes to get into it because the color grading is actually very dark compared
Hmm.
to other MCU movies. It's so if you it makes this film look like a black and white film because the MCU films are so bright and like, they're on
Yeah,
green screen and stuff like that, and the color grading is just it's always so bright. But here it was just darker, it was grittier, there was a different feel to it, and it added
yeah,
so much to it. And it took me a few minutes to get into it. I was like, is this going to be good? I don't know if I like it or not. But then as the
yeah,
story gets into it, you delve deeper into the mythology of the Eternals and Grisham and the Celestials and different Celestials and different planets. And the Eternals exist not just here on Earth, but in other galaxies and other planets. Like they're just there's multiple Eternals all over the galaxy, and they're controlled by different Celestials. And the Eternals themselves have gone from planet to planet. Is that right? Did I get that right?
yeah,
They've been on different planets before with the same kind of mission, and then that planet is used to absorb power by the Celestial, and then they move on
yeah,
to the next planet, and their memories are wiped, and then they start again on
yeah.
Earth. They've got past memories of different planets where they might have had people they love. I don't know if they can have kids. I don't know, but yeah, it's crazy, and I think a big indicator is that Thanos. I think Thanos was actually even now was more right than he was in Infinity War because he wanted to half the population because he's seen what happens when a planet becomes full. People starve. There's no food. The the Thanos snap stopped this happening sooner. Like
Yeah.
the Celestials, like them using Earth because the half the population snaps. So for it to work, the population needs to be near enough full on Earth, on any planet. But then Thanos snaps the population in half. Oh, then they have to start again. Like for the, did you describe that a little bit better?
No,
It's,
that's perfectly. But the only thing, like, look, this movie kind of has some plot holes. One of them is that, um, okay, so Thanos's parents apparently are Eternals in the comics. So I don't know how it is in the MCU, but in the comics, his parents are Eternals. What Thanos is unsure at this point. He is not an Eternal and he's not a deviant, but he might have a deviant gene in him. That's just a guess and a theory, but yeah, that could be
but
possible. But
his brother, Harry Styles,
yeah, he's an Eternal.
he's a full blown Eternal.
Yeah,
But I don't know I don't know how it worked. Like Gamora and Nebula are Thanos' kids, but
yeah.
he didn't get with a space chick and have them. You know, he kind of
It's that's
he
what's
brought them in.
that's what's weird to me. Is Thanos adopted by this Eternal family? Is is he just created by organic, not organically, like is he created in the what did Arsham call that chamber in which they all were created like robots? Was he created
Oh,
like that?
yeah, I
It's
think
hard to
so.
say, but yeah, what I'm getting at is basically that we don't know what Thanos is, but
He
um
learned what could happen to the galaxy if the population wasn't
yes,
half.
yeah,
That's what his gauntlet. That's what he
yeah,
wanted
but
the gauntlet for in the Infinity Stones.
the point I was making is that the Eternals apparently did not interfere when Thanos came and was snapping and snapping the entire universe in half. The Eternals did not interfere. The reason they gave is that they only interfere when deviants are involved, right? And there were no deviants involved during the Thanos thing, but there was also this whole, half of the population disappearing, which is basically um against Arisham's plan, kind of, because Arisham needed more people for Tiamat to emerge, right? So why did Arisham not say, tell Ajak or any of the Eternals to just Stop Thanos.
Well, he wouldn't have like it's not like Thanos was on Earth for that long either, and he had the Infinity Stones. So like, how was Harishma supposed to know either? Like he doesn't know
He's
everything.
God.
He can't. He's God, but he doesn't know everything.
Yeah,
He
I
doesn't
think
know that
that's
Harry Styles is going around recruiting other
yeah.
Eternals.
I
Like
think
because
that's one of the things. He's not basically God. He's just a sentinel,
well, there's other
celestial.
Celestials that control other Eternals and other
Yeah.
planets. So
Maybe
Harry
he's
Styles
not
is
all seeing.
Harry Styles is maker could be a nice celestial,
Yeah.
could hate or Isham. You just don't know what the
Yeah.
overall story is. But I think for you to kind of nitpick at that plot hole, I think you have to go deep into it in terms
Yeah.
of why didn't Orisham know about Thanos? Like it's not that obvious of a plot hole. It's
Yeah.
not like them going into it's not like Gamora and Black Widow dying the same way in Endgame, but then they only bring back Gamora.
Yeah.
They don't bring back Black Widow. It's not like a plot hole where Captain America lived a life on a different timeline parallel to what happened in the MCU, even though he's Captain America here and he was growing old with Peggy here. You
Yeah.
know, those kind of things drive my head crazy. But I didn't. I thought it was pretty straightforward. I thought that Thanos kind of
Yeah.
stopped the inevitable by doing the snap, and maybe that's what his intention was as well. He knew what would happen if
Yeah.
planets overpopulated, and yeah.
Well, the out of the movie story is that Eternals didn't exist back then. That's that's as simple as it gets. But you had to have an in-universe, story to it as well. So they had that. But I understand. I completely forgive them for that, and I don't think that should be that big of a deal anyway. But like you said, it's just a nitpick. And I also found it interesting that so basically these Eternals go from planet to planet, right? And they each time they get their memories erased, and a celestial emerges. The planet is destroyed. They get sent to another planet, memory reset, and everything, right? So maybe in other planets as well, they tried to stop the emergence, like, was hinted in this movie as well, with Tina's whole character being, fighting everyone and stuff. So they did try to stop the emergence on other planets as well and weren't successful. And I think it's kind of a very beautiful thing um, that they established about Earth is that, because of Earth, because of how people here are, they learned to love and they learned compassion and all that. And because of that, the whole team could create the Unimind. And I don't think they could create the Unimind on any other planet or any other time they were sent on a mission. I think this is the only time they could create a Unimind because for that to happen, they all had to agree to it. And I think
You know,
that's beautiful.
it's it's like this is multiple timelines, but it's
Yes.
multiple Earths, multiple galaxies. Even though it's all
How
happening
many
in one
different
world.
planets are you going?
Yeah, like how many planets have the Eternals destroyed, helped
Yeah.
destroy in the galaxy? But how many times have they tried to prevent it and failed?
Yeah.
And this is the one time that they've succeeded. Very much like in Zack Snyder's world and the
Yep.
Nightmare timelines. Like he kept failing, kept failing, kept failing.
Look,
Thought he
we
had to
can
live.
sit here and compare it to Zack Snyder's Justice League story all day. Like, you believe me, I'm literally suppressing all of that because there's so much similarity, so much. But I didn't
Yeah.
want to just compare everything to that because it's its own movie as well, and I loved it. But there are very much similar things, and yeah, Nightmare is one of them.
But also, if they wanted, I know I kind of said the Avenger movies are irrelevant right now, but in fairness, Earth is eternalless right now. There's no Eternals on Earth, um, because they were
Yeah,
taken
that's
by
right.
Grisham, and then you also have Athena, Atia,
Thina
uh,
and
Athena, Macri, and Druig. They're in the
yes,
ship. The ship's called like
mm-hmm.
a Dromo or something like that.
Domo, yeah,
They're in the ship looking for other Eternals in the galaxy.
yeah,
they're not on Earth. And then Harisham took Cersei, and he took uh, Kingo
Fastos and Kingo,
and
yeah.
Bastos. So there's no Eternals on Earth. Sprite is the only one, but then she was turned into a human.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's probably why you need the Avengers for the next one. So they're not that
Yep.
relevant, but to the overall scheme of things, not that
Yeah.
important.
Yeah. But yeah, like I said, we can go on forever talking about everything. We didn't even dive into other characters here, but I did like. Let's touch upon them. I did like Makari's action. The speed running and all that. It was different. It was unique, and I liked it. Although she wasn't that fast, because you if you have to see how she's running and how if you want to capture that on camera, you have to limit the speed. That's why you
Yeah,
cannot see Flash running, because he's literally way too fast.
if you actually, great, people said this film was woke. Like that's not woke at all. I think two characters kissed for like 5 seconds, and people lost their shit. Like what? I was like
Yeah,
expecting this full blown French kiss, 5 10 minute scene, and then it came up, and I was like, really? Is that why people were pissed? Like, get over
yeah,
yourself, for God's sake. And then there's like it's the first MCU sex scene as well. It's like I
yeah.
didn't. Who cares? Who cares? But like, there's a deaf character. There is Angelina Jolie's character. I think she represents people with dementia as well, because
Oh
forgets a
yeah,
lot, and she kind of has outbursts, and she doesn't know who she is, and things like that.
that's that's also another running theme of the movie. Um, the cast is very diverse, and just forget about the cast being diverse. The characters themselves are very diverse and unique. And when Arisham shows the entire battalion or legion of Eternals, whatever, all of them are different and unique, just like humans are. Some are short, some are very small, some are tall, some are men, women, all of that. And you can see that in the robotic figures that in the scene that we see. So it's it's another thing that Sprite also kind of Sprite is a child character in this, and obviously she has um grown woman tendencies and stuff, but she cannot act on it because she's a child forever. And
Yeah,
she feels bad about it, and she's basically depressed throughout the movie, and she's always wondering why. She's also asked basically that
is
why
it
did Arisham make her that way, and
is it a
I
good
think it
is
was
it
a
a good
brilliant
represent
thing.
a good, is that kind of a representation to trans people, maybe not
I
being
don't
comfortable
know.
in your body? I'm not sure. Maybe
Maybe,
not.
maybe, but I also think that it's just another thing that Chloe inserted into the movie, that people are unique and different, and you don't have to feel bad about it, and you just she basically asked, why did Arisha make me that way? So basically what a lot of people ask, most people ask,
Sure.
why did God make me this way, right? So I think that was very brilliantly done as well. And you know yeah, like you said, it's very diverse. It's not woke at all. It's naturally, if it's Chloe just wanted to show that show what humans on this planet are like and what life is like here. And that's another reason I think the color grading conveys, because at first when I was looking at trailers and stuff, it looked very gray and not much processed like Civil War and stuff. And but when I saw the movie, I realized that Chloe just wanted to show Earth as it is and show the beauty that is, when you just go out and see outside without any color grading or anything. It's basically that, and I just loved it.
Yeah, yeah, me too. Can't wait to watch again, and I can't wait when it hits Disney Plus, because I think I'll be watching this a good few.
Yeah, this weekend, Shang-Chi is coming out on Disney Plus, so I'm definitely watching that first,
Yeah,
because I've only seen that one time, and I loved that movie. So I cannot wait to watch that as well.